Hey, Bayek, it's me, Ian. And here I am again reviewing another classic Doctor Who story. And this is a really special one, I think. This is The Green Death from 1973, Season 10, or Series 10. We still get there now. Right. So this really is considered, I think, one of not only the best of the third Doctor stories. This is, if we look in the whole history of Doctor Who, always one that is well remembered, and it's just a brilliant story from the third Doctor. But it's also an interesting one because when we look at today's Doctor Who, it just proves that people actually haven't looked at the history of Doctor Who, because this is really a very radical story, a very political. It's way ahead of its time. It's ecological. It's a lot of the issues that are going on today. And of course, all these people that complain about modern Doctor Who being, all that nonsense about woke and all that stuff, well, they obviously haven't any idea about the history of Doctor Who, because this is a controversial story. At that time, these issues were being brought forward. We've got Doomwatch and series like that, which brought these issues out. But this is really full of so many issues about globalization, the way that the planet is being affected by us, really, all the modern sort of issues, also about feeding the world, and it's all here on this one episode. And you know what? This is so entertaining. It's brilliant. It's a 6-part story, and a 6-part story that is just, it just goes by, and you just watch it and think, wow, this is great. I know there will be certain critics of this because they don't understand that the special effects, this is BBC budgets, low budgets. They think, well, they don't look very good. But I think they're okay in what they do. And you've got to get over that. People just don't always understand that. But they do a great job in what they've got. And it's a great paced story. Again, 6 episodes doesn't seem too long because it brings in lots of elements together. It doesn't rush in the storytelling, and it's great. And also, it's an important episode because it's the end of an era in terms of Katie Manning playing Jo leaves the series, and that is also an important part. And then we move into the very last season for the third Doctor with the introduction of Sarah Jane, and a certain stylization in the program just changes a little bit. Um, um, but this story is just fantastic. It really is. So let me get into a bit more about it. Actually, I looked on Rotten Tomatoes. There isn't actually a critic score. There's an audience appreciation of 76%. I think amongst fans, it would be a much, much higher than that. This was transmitted between the 19th of May to the 23rd of June 1973. And I remember watching this because it really stands out. And that this has always stayed with me. I mean, I remember when my son was young in the 90s, and I was showing him Doctor Who when he was, a little lad. And this was one story he still talks about. I was just talking to him before about this. He was quite frightened of these maggots. Yes, the maggots, the giant maggots. It's always remembered for them, and fantastic. Well, it's written by Robert Sloman. Sloman, now, he wrote some fantastic stories. The highly regarded Demons 1971 Third Doctor story, highly regarded, that is up there as well with the greats. The Time Monster, another one, 1972. And then, of course, Planet of the Spiders, 1974. So he wrote that, and that, in a way, links some aspects of this story to that story. Fantastic, great, classic Third Doctor stories. Then, of course, we've got, as the producers again guiding all this, we've got Barry Letts and Terrance Dicks. Great team. They were a great team. This is directed by Michael E. Bryant. Amazing as well, his directions. He's got Colony in Space, 1971. The Sea Devils, yes, The Sea Devils, 1972. All these great Third Doctor stories. You can't help it, can you? Then Death to the Daleks. I love Death to the Daleks, even though that is perhaps not considered the best of the Daleks. And then in the Fourth Doctor stories, we've got Revenge of the Cybermen. Again, a very underrated story. I really like that one, 1974. And of course, my favourite but highly rated story is Robots of Death, 1977. These all directed by this Michael E. Bryant. Fantastic. So you're onto a winner. Just looking at all that, you think, hey, by heck, there's some good stuff here, and there is, and this is one of his triumphs, definitely. Let's see, the cast, obviously John Pertwee, Third Doctor, Katie Manning, playing Jo Grant, Nicholas Courtney, the Brigadier, Richard Franklin playing Captain Mike Yates. And then we've got John Levine playing good old Sergeant Benton. He's there again. And we've got then Stuart Bevan playing Professor Clifford Jones. Very important to the story, and of course, his relationship with Jo. Fantastic. I looked at I always like to look for connections. Apparently, he was in The Ghoul from 1975, which is a Tyburn film, horror film, which had Peter Cushing in it. So we've got some good British horror connections there. And the interview on here, he rates this as one of his favourite all-time performances as an actor. What an accolade that is. And he absolutely loved the script. And I know he was a great... Sadly, I think he died. I think it could have been last year. It was not that long ago. But he's a real supporter of this story. I'm very enthusiastic. Then we have Jerome Willis playing, well, you can call it the villain, but is he really the villain? More of a victim. He's Stevens. And of course, he's been controlled, as we know, by the computer, the boss. But he's interesting, Jerome Willis. He was in one of my favourite films, Toby Hooper's Life Force. Remember the Life Force? Wow. Oh, the Life Force. Absolutely love it. 1985, the Life Force. Life Force is just a film. If you haven't seen it, see it. I have a review, I think, or I may not have. If I haven't, it's one that I definitely need to do. I forget now about the reviews I do. But yeah, the Life Force is a film I could talk about a lot. I know I've got a 4K copy of it as well. Yeah. Then we've got, I just like more sort of lesser members of the cast. I know, not lesser. They have a smaller role because everybody is brilliant in the cast. We have got the legend Talfrin Thomas, who plays Dave. Talfrin Thomas, well, he was in Spearhead from Space in 1970. He played the rather shifty reporter. Well, he wasn't a reporter. He was trying to earn some money and contacting the newspapers and giving the story, if you remember. I think he worked in the hospital. Yeah, he was in this role. He's brilliant. He was also in Dad's Army as Private Cheeseman between 1973 and 74. Dad's Army at his height, well-loved British comedy series. And then I think this is a very interesting role. He was in Survivors, particularly the first season, playing Tom Price, and he played some vital parts in certain episodes in that early part. Very good series, Survivors. It should get more recognition. Also, it's something I should have in my collection, which I will get round to, hopefully. I think it still might be available, so that's something I have to think about in the future. But yeah, Survivors, great series it was. I think, yeah, the cast, again, as I said, is superb, and it just adds even more when you've got that. The location filming also adds to the studio. It was filmed in the area, Oligivy Colliery. I think I've got that right. Near Derry Caerphilly. So you've got the wonderful Welsh connection there. Fantastic. And the location filming works so well, doesn't it? It just adds a lot to the story, as these do. And this is when Doctor Who is really good, when you get that combination. And, on the budgets they're on, this is fantastic. It just adds a bit more to the look of the series as well. And that's great. I always am full of praise for what they do on these limited budgets, and it's incredible. Everything they do is great. So what is the story about? Well, the third Doctor and Unit, and Joe, of course, because Joe is pivotal to this, are really called in to investigate what is going on in South Wales. There's been these accidents where miners have been discovered with this green tinge. I don't know what to call it. It's like a virus thing that's crawling all over their body and kills them. They end up glowing green, basically. And there's a group by Professor Jones who are there opposing what is going on through this multinational company that is aiming for that kind of status. It's supposedly a British company, but it's obviously aiming at a worldwide markets and influence. Global Chemicals. Notice the name again, global. There's a lot of these illusions, about globalism straight in there. They're all in this mix, and the Doctor and Unit come in and are trying to sort out what exactly is going on, and is there some mysterious things. And of course, Global Chemicals have friends in higher places as well, right up to the top. And then this comes into conflict with the Brigadier to some extent, and with Unit. Don't forget, Unit are not sort of their own. They have their own control, really, even though they're based in Britain. They are a World United Nations setup, really. So Unit doesn't always have to follow the lines of the British government, even though it does tend to be sort of influenced. If you're based in that country, apparently they have to obey the laws of the what the Prime Minister, the rules that they say, the British government. Anyway, sorry, I'm wandering off again. Yes. So this is it's all about the discovery of the pollution and what it's doing, and then we get the maggots, the giant maggots, and of course, what are these going to turn into? That's the big question as well. Everything starts to escalate, and the deaths happen again, and Jo is really taken by Professor Jones. She basically falls in love with him, and sometimes they're seen as a younger version of the Doctor as well, and he has his own sort of his own philosophies and wanting to better the world, and he plans to go to the Amazon to develop more about the food sources he's trying to develop, and we've got all these things going on, and it's a great watching their relationship and see how the story goes. And then of course we get about the other strands about technology, the influence of technology with computers, all issues still relevant today, like the environmental effects. What are we doing to the environment, and our companies covering up what they're doing. It's all there, and it's all here, and it doesn't pull any punches about this. It makes it quite clear where it stands, I think, the story, and that's really good. And fantastic it is. It really is fantastic. The way it's filmed, as I've mentioned before, is great. The special effects, as I say, considering what they are fine. And I know people think it lets the story down. I don't think that at all. And I love it. I do. I rate this so high. I would put this in all-time rated stories, all with the post 2005 stories of Doctor Who right up to the modern day. I think it stands up well. Okay, some might think it is dated, and they can see sort of limitations in certain areas, but it's always the story and how the actors put it together. And also, I would contend that the respect that Jo and Love is also shown in this. The farewell is amazing. It's so touching, and that they don't. Have you noticed often and sometimes in farewells you get them and then it's all over, really quickly. This isn't. they really play it properly how you would expect. And I like that. It doesn't just end and rush off. And it's one of the few stories where you actually see the Doctor showing real emotion and sadness. The image you see of the Doctor at the end is so sad. It brings a tear to your eye. I mean, the last time we saw that emotion in the Doctor was probably going back to when he says goodbye to Susan in Dalek Invasion of Earth in 1965. But this could well be one of the greatest farewells. It's even up there perhaps with the Rose and 10th Doctor emotions. I think this is even, it's greater, it's better. Because just the look of the face of the third Doctor, and that he's almost like a lonely figure, and we know he is, of course. This is Doctor. The Doctor is actually a very lonely figure, and you see it there. He's amazing. Just thinking about it makes me emotional. I know I'm daft as a brush sometimes, but it is. I can't praise this story enough. I can't really. Let me just do a little bit more talking about it. 1996, it came out on VHS. I remember getting it well. I've always wanted this story. Then this DVD came out in 2004. And then, of course, in the collection, the Doctor Who collection, which I'll just quickly show you here. This came out in 2019. Blu-ray, fantastic. It's on here. Plus, more extras, making of documentary as well, interviews, and also includes the omnibus version of the Green Death, which was transmitted. Yeah, I'll show you it again. This is great. This you can get now, of course, in the standard Blu-ray. I'm sure you can. This is just a standard Blu-ray edition. But yeah, this, I say, is good. It's fantastic, and you've got all the extras that you would come to expect. The 2 interviews are great, and also there's a spoof about the conspiracy theories. Then you've got, say, the standard disc and the usual leaflet with a bit of information on there. So, highly recommended. The Green Death, 1973. Yeah. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I could have rambled on a lot more, but I didn't. I kept quite restrained, I thought, because I was going to go off in a lot of directions, but I won't. Now, if you've liked it, please subscribe, and then we'll let you know when I produce more videos. Which, yeah, and if you haven't subscribed, it doesn't cost out. Just be great. And also, if you like it, please give it a like. It all helps with algorithms and all that stuff, and that costs no either. And if you've got comments, please put your comments down, and I'll give them an answer. I'll tell you what I think as well. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really grateful to all of you who do contribute. It's fantastic. And then just you for watching and hopefully enjoying it as well. You can't say fairer than that, can you? I really enjoy, doing these videos. That's great. Oh, well, all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.